Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and I can't start today's show without talking about the ISO 10002. You know, some people just love to complain, but companies have a responsibility to care. The International Organization for Standardization, ISO, has revised ISO 10002, the standard for complaint handling. This document enables organizations to foster a customer-focused environment open to feedback, heightening their customer satisfaction. You can get the ISO 10002 standard from the American National Standards Institute, ANSI, the U.S. member body of ISO. Visit ANSI.org/complain to learn more. That's ANSI.org/complain to learn more.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 14 years now, we've been asking the Frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. Well, we're meeting with Tom Krouse, the CEO of Donatos. And Donatos is a family-owned, privately held company that treats its franchise partners like they're part of their family. Their mission is to promote goodwill through their products and service, principles, and people. I'm going to talk to Tom about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 14 years now, we've been asking the Frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. Well, we're meeting with Tom Krouse, the CEO of Donatos. And Donatos is a family-owned, privately held company that treats its franchise partners like they're part of their family. Their mission is to promote goodwill through their products and service, principles, and people. Hi, Tom. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Marty. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
This is my pleasure, Tom. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning, Tom?
Calling from beautiful Columbus, Ohio.
That's it. You know, it's amazing when I think about it, Tom, because this is where Donatos actually got their start, didn't they?
That's right. Yeah, we started on the south side of Columbus 58 years ago.
That's incredible. That number, I mean, that amazes me, Tom. We've been doing this show now 14 years, and it's very rare that I get to hear a number like that. You know, it's like usually 10 years, 20 years, but 57 years. I mean, that's, it's fantastic. And, you know, I mean, when we talk about Donato's, Tom, I mean, what an amazing history, as you mentioned. You know, I mean, you go all the way back to, I guess it's like 1963. And, you know, the story is kind of amazing, too. I mean, when you think about it, and I know you know this story, but, you know, Jim Grody, you know, starts the organization for, I think it was like a little over $1,000. Maybe you could talk like a little bit about, you know, some of the highlights that's happened over the last, you know, 57 years.
57 years. Let me see if I can squeeze that into a minute.
It's not easy.
Well, Jim's my father-in-law, and he started when he actually bought the name and the recipe for Donato's when he was 19 years old. He was a sophomore at Ohio State, and he borrowed money from his father and his future father-in-law to start this little pizza shop on the south side of Columbus.
Wow.
It was Jim's whole idea. He started working when he was 13, washing pizza pans at a little pizza shop.
Wow.
And it was this pizza shop was owned by these two different gentlemen. One was a real friendly fellow who loved his customers and people, and the other was kind of a miserly. He's the kind of guy that would he'd water down the pizza sauce at the end of the night so he could get 3 more pizzas out of it, kind of thing.
Oh, that's funny.
And my father-in-law watched the differences in how these two gentlemen did business, and he noticed the nights that the one gentleman worked, business was great. The nights when the other gentleman worked, it wasn't. And from then on, he said, I'm going to do business someday, and I'm going to do it with ethics and morals and values. And that's really kind of the basis for Donato's.
It seemed like, too, you know, as I was studying the history of Donato's, Thomas, Jim was very big on consistency, and he still is today, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. He's fanatical about consistency.
Yeah.
In fact, he developed a system, an operating system that really no one in the industry has anything like this. It makes it super easy for any operator to run and make pizzas and run the pizza shop, and it makes for an absolutely consistent product every time.
Part of history, too. I'm a big fan, Tom, of the show Undercover Boss, and I remember when Donato's was on Undercover Boss. I mean, I guess you could probably say that's part of the history, too, isn't it? You know, because we've had guests like Catherine Monson on the show in the past, you know, she talked about her experience, you know, but I'm sure that certainly played a positive role or an interesting role in the history of Donato's, hasn't it?
Oh, it sure did. You know, we were presented with the idea. We have friends over at White Castle, and they were one of the first people that were on that show, and they had mentioned us to the network, and so we looked at it and we said, you know what? No matter what happens, we treat people with goodwill, and whatever happens, we'll respond in the right way. And of course, we didn't expect some of the things that happened on the show, but it really ended up being a great experience. We were able to help some people in a pretty meaningful way, and it did show a little bit about the way Donato's treats people, and that was a positive thing too. It was nice to see.
Was that what drew you to Donato's, Tom? Because, you know, I was studying your background, you know, I mean, and by the way, I mean, you have a very impressive background, and I was kind of even starstruck. I mean, that you got to, you know, you worked with Wendy's for a long time, you know, you got to know Dave Thomas. I mean, what drew you to Donato's? What was it? Was it the family atmosphere that drew you to the organization?
You know, that's a great question, Marty, because, I was, at the time, I had been at Wendy's for probably 16 years, 17 years, something like that. Was vice president of marketing there. And like you said, I got a chance to work with one of the great icons in the restaurant business, Dave Thomas, very closely. And I was super happy in my career at the time. What was going on at Donato's? Donato's had just been purchased by McDonald's. McDonald's had bought Donato's, Boston Market, and Chipotle as part of they called it a meal occasion strategy. They were growing different brands. So they had purchased Donato's, and they were building a team, you know, to grow. And so honestly, they approached me, and I really saw it as just a job opportunity. I was super happy at Wendy's, but and then I fell in love with this company. I fell in love with the values of the company, fell in love with the product, And actually, years later, I fell in love with the founder's daughter, and she's my wife,
great.
Jane. She's the chairwoman of the company, and
that's great.
So I'm all in. Let's put it that way.
That's fantastic.
I'm kind of all in here.
Yeah, it is. It's a great story when I hear it, Tom. It's really amazing. And I mean, Donato's is certainly a powerful brand name. But I mean, if there's anyone who's unfamiliar with Donato's, Tom, I mean, how do you typically describe your organization to, let's say, a prospective franchisee?
Well, I would say a few things. One is, and probably first and foremost, is the product. It is a super premium product. We have, we use fresh sliced veggies on our pizza. We have lots of toppings, like a large pepperoni pizza has 100 pepperonis on it. We have a thin crust that we're known for. So there are a lot of aspects about our product that really makes it kind of the highlight. The other part is our operating system. It is like I said, Jim developed a way to produce pizzas that you're not mixing dough in the back of the room, and you're not having the inconsistent product that you get when you're dealing with, those types of pizzas. So we produce the pizza crusts in our commissary here. Those are shipped to the stores, and then the process to make a pizza is automated and very, very simple. So,
that's great.
It's that aspect, and then the last aspect is really the people side, and it's we are very focused on bringing your character, bringing your whole self to work every day. We're a family organization. We truly are a family organization. We have our third generation is working within the company right now, but it really feels different here, and the culture, I think, is the one thing. If you'd ask any of our franchise partners, and by the way, we call them franchise partners because that's how we operate, but they would say it's a real family feel. So we're very supportive. It's not like a lot of franchise organizations where it's a concept and an operating manual, and then good luck and we'll see you later. We're there with them all along the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I get when I research Donato's, Tom, is the culture. I mean, it's the culture is a big part of the brand. And it makes sense. As far as franchising, when you become a franchisee to Donato's, I mean, you become part of that family, don't you?
Oh, most definitely. We, like I said, the family was not intending to sell to McDonald's back in '99, and McDonald's approached them, and it was an opportunity to grow the business. McDonald's interests went elsewhere. 4 years later, their stock dropped, and they were wanting to get out of the business. And the family bought it back, and they bought it back because of the people. And that's the kind of organization this is. We're not. We're in the people business. We happen to serve pizza as a way to impact people, but we're trying to make a difference. We're trying to make a difference in all the communities that we do business in. We're very, very active in the communities, very active in the nonprofit worlds. My wife, Jane, and her dad helped fund and created a nonprofit on the south side of Columbus that's really impacting people in need and literally saving people's lives. That's the kind of thing that we want to do. Everybody loves pizza, and if you can be successful in the pizza business, you have the resources to help not only your employees, but the people in the community. So we have a phrase, it's bigger than the pizza. That's what we like to say around here.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And you've done, not to embarrass you, Tom, but you've done a very good job, a great job with your organization. I know there was 1 year, you were voted, was it the CEO of the year, and it's interesting, because you have a marketing background like myself, and you say, what was all that attributed to?
The CEO of the year, we just paid them off. No, I'm just kidding.
That's great.
No, I think it's a tribute to the whole culture of the organization.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fortunate to be able to lead the people here, and but it's really the culture and the difference that we're trying to make. We've had a pretty successful run here in the last 10 years, and we've got a big future ahead of us. So we're excited.
That's great. It's wonderful. The theme of the show last year, Tom, is we couldn't seem to get away from COVID. I mean, a lot of businesses, of course, had to pivot, and shift a bit. How has the pandemic played a role with Donato's?
Well, I'll tell you, there were a number of silver lining type things I would point to. One was it taught us how to communicate better to the organization. I mean, we thought we did a good job, but when every 3 days something different was happening in the world, we had to learn how to stick together and communicate. Right. We also looked at technology. We had been working on a number of technology advances, and so we accelerated a lot of those. Our digital ordering platform, about 60% of our business is done over online, and most of that's over the phone. Wow. We had to, we put some new features into that. We have pickup windows in a number of our restaurant locations. Right. So we were able to optimize the pickup side of the business. So, a lot of things that we were working on, it really kind of forced us to accelerate. Right. And, the pizza business really did well. We did well from a sales standpoint, right? Because that's what customers were at home and needed food, and we were there to provide it to them.
Yeah, I mean, pizza's comfort food too, isn't it, Tom? You know what I mean? It's just, we order pizza once a week. I mean, it does. It makes you feel better. And it was interesting how you mentioned, a lot of businesses. That's what I noticed too, Tom, was that a lot of franchises, they were kind of forced to get to the next base quicker. You know what I mean? They said, we got to do something quickly. Maybe it would have taken a lot longer, if it wasn't for the pandemic. So, I mean, I think it's interesting. And, pizza, I guess it's safe to say, I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but I mean, it's safe to say it's a pretty big industry, isn't it?
Oh, it's $43 billion industry.
Wow, is it that high? That's amazing.
And, when my father-in-law started and he was trying to borrow money from his father said, well, I don't know, Jim. I think pizza's a fad.
Isn't that great?
Turns out he was wrong about that.
Right, he was.
But, and our sales, we were up double-digit during the pandemic. Our average unit volume is about 1.3 million per restaurant, which is in the top 95% of the pizza competitors. Right. So we were fortunate. The challenge right now is the labor market is difficult, and so we're doing everything we can to. We have a few innovative ideas. We have something we're testing right now called not an interview, but a dinnerview. Meaning, if you come in for an interview, we're gonna provide you dinner in form of a pizza.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's great. That's clever.
It is. The team came up
very
with that.
clever. Yeah,
I think it's just super interesting. So.
That's fantastic. Do you think did Jim know? I mean, did he see? And I know you can't speak for him, Tom, but he was 19 years old when he started, Donato's, and he starts working at 13 years old. My son is 13 now, and I said, oh my God, Jim Brody was, working in a pizzeria at 13 years old. I got to tell my son that story. But did he see the big picture? I mean, of where Donato's is today, or would he have been surprised, like if you talked to him as the 19-year-old person, saying, okay, this is where the organization's going to go? What is his reaction, or what was his reaction?
Marty, what a great question. Jim he has always been a visionary type person. I mean, even when he was that young, and he used to take the kids out in their pajamas at night after work under the sign, the first, blinking lights that said Donato's, and said, we're going to be around the world one day. I mean, he would tell his little kids that, and and his goal wasn't just to be around the world, but it was to really make an impact in every neighborhood. And he's always been the kind of person that there was a bigger purpose, and he did see it. He has a knack for visualizing the future, and then it tends to happen. It may not happen exactly the way he visualized it, but we get there. It's he's an amazing guy.
He must be, yeah. I mean, because it sounds so young to me, 19 now, Tom. You know what I mean? I said 19 years old. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh my God. You know, it really is. It's a very impressive story. It really is interesting. What's been? I'm sure you have 100 or maybe even 1,000 stories, Tom. But what's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you since becoming the president and CEO of Donato's? Like I said, there's probably 100 stories. Tough question.
There's a lot, but I would tell you, so I took this job, I've been here 21 years, and I've been president CEO for over 10 years.
Right.
But if you'd asked me 10 years ago to fast forward and say that we would be selling double-digit sales in cauliflower crust pizza 1 month before a 100-year pandemic hit, I would have said you're crazy.
Yeah,
but
right.
That's really what happened. Last February, we introduced cauliflower crust pizza with plant-based sausage, which is, you know, just a kind of not something you would have thought of, 10 years ago. But it, you know, our sales were jumping, and then
that's
amazing. the floor dropped out when they started closing the restaurant side of the business. Our business took a wobble for a few weeks and then kind of rebounded.
Like everybody else,
that would be an interesting one. I think there was also a time when some sort of rogue coupon was like a counterfeit coupon was being sent out throughout our entire system, and customers were coming into our dining rooms in droves. We had to close dining rooms. We had crowds outside. We had crowd control.
Oh no!
My wife and I were having dinner at a restaurant, and our phones started binging.
Right, of course.
Our managers were like saying, "Please make it stop, make it stop." But there's all sorts of stories, as you say. But
that's fantastic.
It's a fun business.
It is a fun business. It's interesting, Tom, how like pizza has changed, like you said. You know what I mean? Like over the years, I remember when I was a kid, I was 19 years old. I remember working in a pizzeria. But I mean, it's interesting how pizza has changed. Particularly like you mentioned, over the last maybe 5 years, 10 years. I mean, I see there's organic pizza, there's gluten-free pizza. I mean, who would have ever saw those changes coming, right?
Exactly. But you really do. You've got to keep up with the times, and you want to make sure you maintain who you are, but also stay current with the times. And,
sure.
And I feel like our team does a great job with that. I'm super proud of them.
That's great. Let's maybe talk a little bit about franchising, Tom. What types of characteristics does Donato's look for in their franchisees? When you're meeting with a prospective franchisee, you probably have some type of idea, if they're going to be a match or not. What do you look for? Yeah,
we are looking for a certain set of character traits, mostly. Obviously, there's a financial requirement. It's not significant. Our average investment is about $500,000, so it's not onerous. But we're looking for someone that's really committed to the business. We're not looking for passive investors necessarily. We're looking for people that are interested in. Now, we're looking for multi-unit operators, so they may not necessarily be at GM level, but they are going to get their hand, roll up their sleeves, get their hands dirty, and be involved in the business. Mostly, we're looking for people that understand people. They need to understand how to lead their teams, so they've got to have the right kind of characteristics, and they need to lead them in the right way. This isn't a command and control company. This is a company where we're all better together, and when we operate like family. So how they treat their people and how they treat customers. The ones that are most successful are the ones that, they're proud to wear the Donato's logo on their shirt, and they're proud to go out into the community and partner with schools or churches or organizations, and those are the ones that really are able to build their business and have a good time. So I'm kind of describing the one gentleman that Jim Grody worked for when he was 13 years old.
Right,
really
of course.
Friendly with the customers and really understood his people, and that's really what we're looking for. And we also want people that want to grow with us. We have a pretty significant growth trajectory right now, and we have a lot of open territories. So we want people that, want to come in and be successful with 1, 2, 3 stores and then continue to grow from there. So it's a lot of upside.
Great. That's terrific. What's the training like, Tom? I mean, I'm sure the training changed a little bit. I noticed with, COVID, starting last year, a lot of the interviews I did over the last year, training did have to change to some extent. But how does the training work, once someone does become a new franchisee to Donato's?
Well, after we sign them, and it varies depending on what kind of level of operator we're talking to, but it's about a 9-week training program, and we'll bring them to either into Columbus or in a market near where they're opening, and they'll go through, pretty exhaustive. They need to understand all aspects of the business, and it's really a great program. And to a T, everyone who's been through it was so thankful for it, because it really gives a real clear picture of what it takes to be successful as a Donato's franchise partner.
And your industry, I mean, I guess you can classify it as, I mean, it's a fun business to be in, Tom. I mean, and I guess that's what maybe drew you also towards, maybe the food industry. But you kind of hinted on some of them. But what's a typical day like for a Donato's franchisee? You mentioned the importance of wearing the brand name, getting out into the community. Maybe you can talk a little bit about it.
It is a fun job. I think a typical day is gonna there'll be time with their team. Likely a pre-shift rally before they get started for the day. Reviewing, what are their goals for the day or for that evening. Recognizing people for, their accomplishments most recently. So there's a bit of a celebration as well as here's where we're heading today or this weekend. Then they'll go visit each restaurant, problem solve. They'll probably help interview. Looking for new people, so they're always looking for new people. And then they'll coach and develop. So if you've got an assistant manager that's, got some visions of doing something greater, they'll spend some time with that AGM or a trusted associate and talk to them about their future and help grow their career at Donato's. And then they'll go out into the community and go to the Chamber of Commerce meetings, and likely we'll put on the apron and bring pizzas to an event and shake hands and, kiss babies and shake hands. With a mask on now and with gloves on, I guess. But
that's terrific. Yeah, that's great. No, I think that's fantastic. And you have all these years of experience, Tom. What advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise, Tom? Because, there seems like there's so much out there today. I think they said there's something like 3,000, 3,500 systems. And we found that, doing the show such a long time now, that in the early phases of someone interested in buying a franchise, they're a little bit confused because they say, oh my God, there's, all these different industries and, all these different choices. From everything you've learned up to this point of working with franchisees, what advice would you give them in their quest to buy a franchise?
I think the whole key is putting the right resources in the right spot. So I'll use a quote from one of my old bosses at Wendy's, Jim Neer, who he always talked about batteries not included. And what he meant by that was, if you're going to be a franchisee or a franchise partner, as we call them, you're buying into a system that exists. So don't put your energy trying to change the system or change the recipe or work that side of the system. Put your energy in bringing your whole self into the business. Bring your energy into leading your people. Bring the energy into building the business in the community or giving back to the community. I've noticed those that are less successful don't put their energy into that, but they're trying to revise something that already is a part of the operating plan that, maybe it's not perfect, but if you're spending your time trying to change the recipe or the operating system, maybe franchising isn't what you want to do. Maybe you want to start your own restaurant. And so I think the key, but more importantly, I think, is put, batteries aren't included. So put your whole energy into building a culture within the organization and building a reputation in the community. That's where you'll win every time. You'll win every time.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. I love that analogy. Batteries not included. It's about trust, isn't it, Tom? If you're going to invest into a system, like Donato's, is you have to have that level of trust, don't you? In order to.
Yeah, you really do. And it's not to say that we really do a lot of collaborating with our franchise system. We have an advisory council, and we meet regularly, and we get advice from them, and they help guide the business. But once we've decided, what the program is or whatever, let's go ahead and just execute that program. So
Right. Absolutely. That's fantastic. So I can ask you, the final question, Tom, is as the CEO, where do you see Donato's, maybe if you could look into a crystal ball, 3 years, 5 years down the road, where do you see the organization?
Well, I'll tell you, we, I talk about making a difference, and we have this mission to promote goodwill through our product, service, principles, and people. And that's really another way of saying we want to be a company that gives more than it receives. We want to make an impact. So we have a phrase, our vision phrase is that we want to be $1 billion company that gives more than it receives.
Wow.
And when I say that, I mean, yes, we get $14 for a pizza, but what we give in return is, we hire 14, 15-year-olds. Not a lot of companies do that.
Right.
We know the impact that has on young people. We hire second chance individuals and give them a chance to turn their lives around, and we help people, create a vision through franchising that they can be successful for their families. So it's important for us to grow. So we're probably a quarter of the way there, but we just announced recently that we are now officially franchising nationwide. So we have not been.
That's great.
We've only been franchising in kind of contiguous areas to our regional footprint, but now we're able to open up to the entire country, and the interest has been huge. So
that's exciting.
We have big things coming.
That's terrific. That is exciting. What's the best way, Tom, for our listeners to get more information on Donato's as the franchise opportunity and even the product itself, of course? Are there any websites you can kind of direct them to?
Yeah, you can just go to www.donatos.com. We have a franchising tab.
Okay.
We have, a menu there. We have information on how we give back. Everything you need will be right there. Or you can call here to our headquarters and talk to Jeff Baldwin as our head of franchise development. Great individual with a lot of experience who will kind of guide you through the process.
That's terrific. Well, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking to you today, Tom, and I'd really like to invite you back over the next couple of years as you continue to grow on that national level, because I think Donato's has an amazing franchise opportunity.
Sounds good, Marty. Congratulations on your success. It's a great program, and I know you've got a lot of listeners. So
thank you so much, Tom. The privilege was mine, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on the show. Today you're going to get to hear from Joseph Berger, and Joseph is the president of You Got Maids, and Joseph said something on the show that we haven't heard, interesting enough, in 650 shows. He described franchising as an open book, but we're going to let Joseph explain why. So here we go. You were kind of like, I guess you could say you're almost like born into franchising, Joseph. I mean, you've been exposed to it, it seems like, most of your life. What do you like most about franchising?
Yeah, and you're right. I've been around franchising for a while. I like to tell people I started when I was 7. I started answering phones and folding boxes at Domino's. Started at 25 cents an hour with a free soda, as much as I could drink, and worked up from there. And what I love about it, what we do, I see where entrepreneurship, where small business ownership has helped my family. You know, my dad's from Northeast Philly, row homes. My mom wasn't much better off, and they've been able to really just turn their stars around and build a really good life for all of us. And I love working with franchisees because I get to be a part of them doing that for their family, and that's just inspiring every day.
It's inspiring what you just said, Joseph, because, you know, I know that area, you know, of Philadelphia. I get down to Philly, you know, every so often. And I think you're right. You know, it's one of the things that impresses me too, Joseph, is that, you know, a lot of people, I think they want to get into entrepreneurship, but they don't know how to, right? And I think franchising, you know, allows them that ability to become an entrepreneur, doesn't it?
Absolutely. One of the things we like to say in the process is, like, you know, imagine you have to take a really hard test, and this test determines like everything.
Right.
But, you know, if you're doing it with a franchise, it's open book. We've already made the mistakes. We've already found the opportunities. We've laid out all the processes, and we hone it every day. I mean, all of our new idea, we still are updating. It's never going to be done. We're getting all of our great ideas from our franchisees now. But you can start off with that rather than, you know, opening your doors and like, how do I get maids? How do I get clients? How do I keep them?
Right. That's terrific. I've never heard that analogy in 650 shows, Joseph, but it makes sense. You know, I like how you called franchising an open book, you know, because you're right. You know, when a lot of people do get into entrepreneurship, you know, there's a lot of things that they just don't know, you know, and they make a lot of mistakes. And, you know, sometimes some of those mistakes, you know, are detrimental to, you know, their business. So, you know, to call it an open book, I think that's really very clever. If you'd like to hear that whole interview with Joseph Berger of You Got Maids, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com. Simply go to our Franchise Interviews by Category page and go to our cleaning category, or you can simply go to our franchises listed alphabetically page. And lastly, we just want to thank everyone for making this podcast, our Great Quotes in Franchising podcast, such a big hit. And we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.